So your 20s are probably the most important years of your life as they can shape your financial future. They truly make or break your chances of earning a big salary. I'm in the fortunate position where I've nearly quadrupled my salary in just under 10 years as I've navigated my 20s. But in that time, I've watched many people make fatal errors and have truly killed their salary progression. A lot of these mistakes are made with good intentions, but their harsh consequences only appear when it's far too late. So in this video, I have 7 career mistakes which people make in their 20s, which are all very different from each other. All it takes is one terrible decision, so it's best to watch all the way to the end to make sure you're not going to miss the one that you might be close to making, or sadly, you might have made already. Number 1 is what I call the crab. The lower you are down a business, which is typically where we all start, you're likely going to be doing the same job as a lot of other people within your organisation, but also other organisations around you. After all, businesses are very typically fatter at the bottom than towards the top. Due to this quirk, you'll have a lot of opportunities to move to other businesses, especially early on, as there's lots of similar roles in lots of different businesses around you. What's tempting is that these other businesses will be offering you more money to do exactly the same job. It's a no-brainer, right? If you're selling 40 hours a week, you may as well go to the highest bidder. Welcome to the first mistake, the crab. These are the individuals who think they are smart by continually moving for the same job, which they are more than qualified for and are getting more and more money for it each time. Don't get me wrong, moving is a great strategy to grow your salary quickly, but the catch is that you can only do this for so long. Initially, you will out-earn those around you, and you might even scoff at the fact that your ex-colleagues are doing the same job as you and earning 10% less for the very same work. But if you give it 5 years, you'll be surprised by the fact that these same colleagues have suddenly leapfrogged you when it comes to salary. The crab strategy only has one outcome. You end up being a one-trick pony with a very narrow set of experience, and to top it all off, you're seen as very expensive because you're paid very well for what you do, making you virtually unhireable to other businesses. The only way out of this is really taking a pay cut to get different sorts of experiences. Ouch. 2. Fighting the system. Oh, your 20s. It's all exciting and you're earning far more than you ever have. And to kick it all off, you likely don't have the responsibilities as them boring old people. You're young and you're naive, which after all, you can't help as you're new to all this. But it can quickly lure you into a false sense of self-importance. I have seen this a lot, and millennials are famous for this. They feel that they're special, and special enough to think they have a reasonable say in how things are done. And if they don't like it, then they'll kick up a stink about it. Who doesn't like the new office layout? You. You feeling like you're standing up for yourself, which, don't get me wrong, can be a good thing to do. But if it's not done wisely, you'll end up giving off the impression that you are a taker. A person who is only interested in getting what they want at the expense of their team or their overall company, which they're meant to be contributing to. There is a saying in the gambling industry which applies here. The house always wins. Yes, you might have won the battle at work with what shift you want or where you sit or how the latest targets are unfair, but you will lose the war. As soon as you want anything from your business, promotions, salary increases or experiences, you will be overlooked as you're generally too difficult to work with and only look out for yourself. You have alienated the people who are most critical to your career in the future. If you find yourself in this situation and get the slightest hint that you are one of the vocal ones, then it's game over, sadly. Your best bet will be to start afresh at another business. If this is you, then don't worry, I actually have some Harvard research later in the video on how you can turn your fortunes around. Number 3 is the opposite end of the spectrum compared to number 2. It's not letting people know what you want. What is most interesting here is that there seems to be an inverse relationship between how good you are at your job and how much you ask for in return. The very best people I have worked alongside over the last 10 years typically ask for the least, and the ones that are quite frankly terrible at their jobs always seem to ask for the most. So if you class yourself as an introvert or somebody who doesn't like rocking the boat, then this is likely to be you. And no, I'm not saying you need to be extremely demanding and tell people you need to get what you want or else. It's the approach of subtly telling people what is important to you. And naturally, if you do well at what you do, the business will look to reward you in the metric which you value the most. But don't make the mistake in thinking that you can only ask for more money, which is a perfect segue into number 4. Do not be so short-sighted to think that money is the only important thing to chase. Again, this falls to being naive on how careers are structured. The biggest determining factor for how much you'll get paid in the future isn't how much you're paid before. If you're just starting your career, then you're starting from pretty much a blank slate. The degree or exam results which got you into your first job bear little to no value for the rest of your journey. And that's why you need to spend the majority of your 20s concerned with how many new skills you're learning and how many different experiences you're having. Naturally, the best way to increase your salary is to take promotions and land more senior jobs. But the higher you climb, the broader the experiences and the skill sets are expected and required. There is no broad way to describe the range of experiences you need for your specialised role. But there will be lots of variations within the line of work you do. Different styles, different types of customers, different processes, different situations. You need experiences of both the big and small to move your career forward. Career mistake number 5 is all about dead man's shoes. But let me quickly throw in a bonus tip to help you on your way to a bigger salary. Imposter syndrome. We all have it. You do, your boss does, and so do I. Just sometimes we are sat there, shaking hands on a deal, teaching a group of kids maths, or maybe speaking to a camera knowing thousands of people might watch the video. You sit there and worry that you're not good enough and you can't have that level of responsibility, and that level of impact just is too much for you. Well, rest assured that the most confident person in your circle of friends, or even your managing director at work who earns over £150,000 a year, gets waves of imposter syndrome every now and then at the very least. Do yourself the favour and accept that absolutely everybody gets this feeling, and you, the least of all people, needs to be concerned about it. There is no better person to head up a project, lead a group of people, or take ownership of the company's biggest customer than you. The saying goes, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. So back to mistake 5, dead man's shoes. You have done everything right. You have a broad range of skills, experiences, and you're nailing your job, but you have a problem you can't really do anything about. You might be in a situation that the realistic next job you're looking for is occupied by somebody who is in no rush to move on. They will typically be later in their career, or might be at a stage in their life where they're not looking for something bigger or even a different challenge just yet. You are in a queue and it's looking like a lengthy wait. The situation is known as waiting for dead man's shoes, meaning you're waiting for either somebody to die, retire, or to move on in order for you to take their place. You might sit there and think, but Nick, what's the rush? Well, I am a massive believer that careers are built on momentum, which slows over time. If you're not going through your 20s rocketing through job roles, then it's not going to get quicker. If your momentum is slow in your 20s, then good luck in your 30s and beyond. If you want a timescale and probably when the best time is to move, then after 2 years in a job, you should start feeling a little bit itchy about maybe looking for a move. And then after 3 years, you should be really acting like your desk is on fire, as the clock is continuing to tick and you're not learning anything new. It is a risk moving to a new company with the view of getting promoted, as your progress gets reset, meaning you need to rebuild your reputation all over again. But saying that, is it better to just wait and maybe let your career progression slow down? Or might moving to get new experiences with a company that promises career progression a better opportunity? You decide. Number 6 is a classic. Think of anyone you know that said the following: it's not in my job description. Thought of somebody? Right, now let me ask you this question. How successful are they? Yeah, I thought so. It's not in my job description screams I haven't got a clue what benefits my career. This comment is flawed thinking. You are stuck in the here and now instead of looking at what the future could be. This perceived burden could be a gateway to a brand new opportunity, a new experience, or even a new client, all of which could significantly change the direction of your career for the better. Maybe that additional piece of responsibility will be what makes you stand out on a CV for a far better job in the future. Right, mistake 7, just hear me out on this. It's simply that you've failed to network sufficiently enough both inside your workplace and outside of it. And yes, I fully admit this piece of advice sounds a little bit wet and something only a complete extrovert marketeer might say. I'm not saying you need to send a million friend requests to people you don't know on LinkedIn or rock up to random people at works events. So regarding networking within your existing business, if you're not confident in starting a conversation with someone, then you don't know them well enough, full stop. If the only people you're confidently able to do this with is your immediate team or your line manager, then you've completely messed up. If you're solely waiting for your boss to find you your next move internally, then it's a very sorry looking army to find you opportunities. You need to be thinking, who are your boss's colleagues? What might they do? What job opportunities might they have for your career? These are the sorts of people you really need to be getting to know. But what does networking look like outside of the business you're working for? Look, if you're in your 20s, then you are the fresh face in the industry where everyone seems to know each other, except for you, of course. Don't worry, because this will change if you like it or not, but you can accelerate it significantly. Personally, I don't know many industries where you don't have some kind of external training, networking events, industry trade shows, etc. You will end up speaking to people at these events, so you've only got to do one thing: making yourself likable. You might think making yourself likable is a massive challenge, but don't worry, science has us covered, and it's a straightforward, easy to follow strategy. A Harvard study has found that you'll be far more likable in a one-to-one conversation if you simply ask more questions about the other person. So you're basically taking an interest in the other person rather than talking about yourself. But if you're not in a one-to-one conversation and you happen to be in the group, then the science says you should do the best to answer as many questions as possible. Other than that, all you've got to do is make sure they know what you do for a job and then add them on LinkedIn the very next day. Simple. You never know what might come of these connections, and you will be surprised. They might just know someone who is looking for someone just like you, and this will give you more opportunities to advance your career. But maybe you're looking for more ways to make money out of the current environment. And if so, I would watch this video on the screen right now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.